Hello guys, welcome to my channel where stories filled with revenge, moral lessons and love are told. If you love stories that stir emotions, teach life lessons, and sometimes make your jaw drop, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. When I first met Liana, I thought I'd stumbled upon someone who genuinely appreciated kindness. I was 28 then, living in a modest two-bedroom apartment on the east side of town. It wasn't anything flashy, but it was mine, paid for by my own grind, every bill handled on time, every space kept in order. Liana was 26, between jobs, and staying with a cousin who kept hinting she'd soon need to find another place to sleep. We'd been dating for about 4 months when she came to me with tear-filled eyes, saying she might end up with nowhere to go. My instinct was to help. I told her she could move in with me rent-free, just until she got back on her feet. She hugged me like I'd just saved her life, and for a while, I believed I had. At first, it felt good. I'd come home from work and find her cooking something simple. Spaghetti, rice, grilled chicken. She'd talk about the job she was applying for, the interviews she hoped to land, the life she envisioned for us when she started earning again. I listened, encouraged her, and felt proud to be a supportive boyfriend. But slowly, those updates became less frequent. Her laptop stayed closed for days. I noticed the television ran almost from sunrise to midnight. The dishes piled up, laundry sat unfolded, and the meals became fewer until I was the one ordering takeout on my way home. The bills, of course, didn't stop. Rent, electricity, internet, groceries, it was all on me. I told myself it was temporary, but after 3 months, temporary started feeling permanent. When I gently asked about her job search, she'd brush it off with, "I'm still looking, it's just hard right now." I'd suggest companies that were hiring, even ones outside her preferred field, but she'd roll her eyes and say, "I'm not desperate enough to work just anywhere." What bothered me most wasn't just the lack of financial contribution. It was how she started treating my home like it was hers to control. She'd rearrange things without asking, invite her friends over while I was at work, and once even lent my portable speaker to a neighbor without telling me. When I mentioned it, she shrugged like it was nothing. I started to feel like a guest in my own place. It wasn't until one Saturday afternoon, when I came home earlier than usual, that I noticed something that unsettled me deeply. Liana was on the couch, giggling into her phone. She didn't hear me come in. Her voice was softer than usual, the kind of tone people use when they're trying to charm someone. I walked toward the kitchen, pretending not to notice, but later that evening, while she was in the shower, I saw her phone light up on the counter. A preview of a message read, "When are we going to hang out without him around?" The sender's name was saved with just a fire emoji. My stomach sank. I'd never been the type to snoop, but that one line rattled me enough to look further. What I found wasn't just one conversation, it was several. Different names, playful nicknames, and messages that left no room for just friends' excuses. Compliments about her looks, her body, her freedom when I was at work. One man had even sent her money for lunch earlier that week. That night I barely slept. My mind kept replaying the last few months, all the little things I'd ignored. The sudden disinterest in finding a job. The way she'd get dressed up when I wasn't around. The sly smirk when I'd ask what she did all day. I thought maybe there was some misunderstanding, some reason behind it all, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized I'd been avoiding the truth. Liana wasn't just taking advantage of my home, she was taking advantage of me. The next day, I decided I needed to see how far it went. I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I watched. I paid attention to her excuses, to the days she'd suddenly have to run errands, but come back with nothing in hand. I noticed how her phone was now always face down when she left the room. One night, while she was asleep, a notification buzzed and the preview read, "Can't wait till you're mine for real." That was it. The rope I'd been holding on to snapped inside me. Still, I wanted to approach this carefully. I wasn't going to yell or beg for answers. I was going to hear her own words. So I waited for the right moment, planning exactly what I'd say when I asked her about it. But I didn't know then just how arrogant her response would be, and how one sentence from her would turn my quiet resentment into a firm decision that she had to go. I remember coming home early that Wednesday. She was in the kitchen, scrolling on her phone, not even pretending to be busy. I sat across from her and said calmly, "I know about the messages, Liana. The ones you've been sending to other men." She froze for a second, then smirked like I'd just told her the weather. "Whatever," she said, flipping her hair back. "I don't need you. I have plenty of options." I stared at her, my chest burning. Not an apology, not an explanation, just pure dismissal, like my months of support and sacrifice meant nothing. That was the exact moment I decided the situation wasn't going to drag on another week, another day. My home, my peace, my self-respect, they were mine to protect, and she had just made it clear she didn't belong in any of them anymore. Her words still echoed in my head long after I walked out of the kitchen. "I don't need you, I have plenty of options." It wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it, flat, dismissive, almost amused, like she had already written me off in her mind. I'd given her a roof over her head, food on her plate, and months of patience, and this was the return. That moment stripped away the last thread of hesitation I had. I was done. But being done didn't mean acting recklessly. I knew that if I didn't handle this the right way, it could turn into a messy fight. She'd been here long enough that if I tried to just toss her out, she could claim I'd done it illegally. So that night I started researching. I found out that in my city, she was still legally considered a guest, since she wasn't paying rent and there was no lease with her name. That meant I could give her a written notice to vacate and set a reasonable deadline without risking trouble. I printed out a 30-day notice that same evening and slid it into an envelope. The next morning, I placed the envelope on the kitchen table. She saw it when she came in for coffee, picked it up and looked at me with narrowed eyes. "What's this?" she asked. "It's your notice to move out," I said plainly. "You've got 30 days. She let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "You can't be serious. Where am I supposed to go?" "That's not my problem anymore," I told her, keeping my voice calm. "You said you have plenty of options, time to use one." She set the paper down and crossed her arms. "You're really going to throw me out? After everything?" I almost laughed at that. After everything sounded like she'd been the one sacrificing. But I didn't bite. I just repeated, 30 days, Liana. I want my key back when you leave." For the next week, she acted like the notice didn't exist. She still lounged around the apartment all day, still invited her friends over, still left dishes in the sink. But I was counting down the days and quietly making my own preparations. I bought a set of new locks, cleared a section of my closet to pack her belongings, and even scheduled time off work for the day she was supposed to be gone. Then came the shift in her tactics. One evening, I came home to find her cooking a full dinner, something she hadn't done in months. She smiled like nothing had happened. "Thought we could eat together," she said, placing a plate in front of me. I knew exactly what she was doing. The sweet tone, the sudden effort, it was all an attempt to reset the clock, to make me feel guilty enough to let her stay. I played along for the evening, polite but distant. When she reached for my hand across the table, I pulled back and said, "You've still got 3 weeks to pack." Her face hardened immediately. "You really mean this, don't you?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Completely." That's when the real storm began. The next day, I started getting texts from unknown numbers of people claiming to be her friends, telling me I was heartless, warning me that I'd regret treating her this way. One even sent a thinly veiled threat about coming to see me. When I didn't respond, the messages got nastier. I blocked every number. Then she turned to social media. I found out from a coworker that she'd posted a long, dramatic status about being abandoned and left homeless after giving her all to a selfish man. She even uploaded a picture of her sitting on my couch, looking pitiful, with the caption, "When you realize love was never real." Her friends flooded the comments with sympathy and outrage. I didn't bother defending myself. I knew arguing online would only feed her narrative. But one night, things crossed a line. Around 10 p.m., there was loud banging on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw a man I didn't recognize, pacing and shouting Liana's name. He kicked the door hard enough to make it shake. I called the police immediately, and when they arrived, they told me the man had outstanding warrants. He was taken away in cuffs, still yelling that I'd done her wrong. Liana acted shocked when I confronted her about it. I didn't tell him to come here, she insisted, but her smirk betrayed her. I warned her that if anything like that happened again, I'd file a harassment report. The harassment didn't stop completely, but it lessened after that. Still, she wasn't packing. 2 weeks before her deadline, I decided to speed things up. I began boxing up her clothes, shoes, and toiletries while she was out. I neatly labeled each box and stacked them by the door. When she came home and saw them, her eyes widened. "You're serious about this, aren't you?" she asked. "I've been serious since the day you told me you had plenty of options," I replied. She went quiet then, but I could see the anger simmering in her. For the next few days, she stomped around the apartment, slamming doors, sighing loudly, muttering under her breath. I ignored it all. My focus was on the day she'd be gone. When that day came, she still hadn't arranged a ride or place to stay. I gave her until sunset, then told her I'd be changing the locks. She gathered what she could carry in 2 duffel bags and stormed out without saying goodbye. I watched her walk down the street, head held high like she was making some grand exit, but I knew it was all for show. That night, I installed the new locks, put the rest of her belongings in storage, and finally sat down in my living room without the weight of her presence. For the first time in months, the air felt lighter. I thought it was over, but Liana wasn't quite done with her attempts to claw her way back into my life. 2 days after she left, I heard the faint, familiar knock on my door. It wasn't the aggressive pounding from that night with the man who had the warrants. It was softer, deliberate, almost rehearsed. I didn't move at first, just stood still listening. Then came her voice, muffled but unmistakable. "Evan, it's me. Please open up. I just need to talk." I stayed where I was. Part of me wanted to fling the door open and let all my anger pour out. But the calmer part knew that was exactly what she was hoping for, a chance to get inside, to worm her way back. I said nothing, and after a pause she tried again. "I've had a rough few days. I'm not asking to stay forever. Just a night or 2. Please." I took a deep breath and answered through the door. "You made your choice, Liana. You said you had plenty of options. Use them." Her voice cracked, either from real tears or very convincing acting. "Those people, they don't want to help me. My sister kicked me out, and I've been sleeping on couches. I can't do this anymore." The mention of her sister made me pause. I'd spoken to her sister, Celeste, just a week before, after she reached out to me on social media. Celeste had told me this wasn't the first time Liana had done this, moved in with someone, drained their resources, then left chaos in her wake. Apparently, she'd pulled similar stunts with her last boyfriend, and even her own family had been burned by her manipulations. Celeste had given her a temporary place to stay after I kicked her out, but it lasted less than a week before Liana started inviting strange men over, and refusing to contribute anything to the household. Knowing that, it was even easier to stand my ground. "I'm sorry, Liana," I said, my voice steady. "You can't come back here. I won't go through that again." She sighed heavily, and for a moment there was silence. Then I heard her footsteps retreat down the hall. I waited until I was sure she was gone before I finally sat down. My heart was pounding, but there was also this strange calm beneath it, like I'd finally closed the last door on something toxic that had been rotting my life from the inside. In the weeks that followed, I heard bits and pieces about her from mutual acquaintances. She was bouncing between friends' places, occasionally posting glamorous selfies with captions about living free and choosing adventure. But every now and then, someone would send me a screenshot of her posting vague complaints about fake people and users. I didn't reply, didn't comment, didn't engage. She was no longer my responsibility. It's funny how quickly my apartment changed once she was gone. The clutter disappeared, the air felt fresher, and I actually looked forward to coming home after work. My grocery bill was cut nearly in half. I had money left over at the end of each month, and I started putting it toward things I'd put off: upgrading my desk, taking a weekend trip, even buying a few new suits for work. But more than the physical space, it was the mental space that mattered most. I didn't realize how much energy I'd been wasting on her moods, her needs, her constant drain on everything I had. Without that weight, I felt lighter, sharper, more myself than I'd been in over a year. One Saturday afternoon, about 3 months after she'd left, I ran into Celeste at a coffee shop. She smiled when she saw me and said, "You know, I was mad at you at first for kicking her out, but now I see you were right. She needs to hit rock bottom before she changes, if she ever does." I just nodded. "I hope she figures it out one day," I said, and I meant it. But I also knew that whether she did or not, it wouldn't affect me anymore. The last time I heard from Liana was in the form of a short, almost cryptic text. "You'll regret this." I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. I deleted her number, blocked her on every platform, and moved on. And that's really the core of it: moving on. Not in the sense of finding someone new, but in reclaiming my own life, my space, my peace. For too long, I'd let someone treat my kindness as a blank check, as if generosity meant surrendering my boundaries. I'd ignored the red flags because I wanted to believe the best in her. But people will show you who they are if you're willing to pay attention. Sometimes the best revenge isn't slamming the door, it's quietly locking it, walking away, and refusing to look back. I didn't need to shout or prove my side of the story to anyone. My peace was the proof. To anyone listening who's ever been in a situation like mine, hear me clearly. Your home, your money, your time, your energy, they're not endless resources for someone else to drain. You're not cruel for protecting them. You're not selfish for setting limits. And if someone shows you they don't value what you give, you have every right to take it back. Hello guys, if you stayed with me till the end, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next story. And tell me in the comments, what's the hardest boundary you've ever had to set, and how did it change your life? Moral lesson: when someone reveals their true character, believe them the first time. Protect your peace as fiercely as your possessions, because once lost, it's harder to reclaim. Boundaries are the backbone of self-respect, and self-respect is the root of lasting freedom.